Welcome back to the channel, guys. So as you saw in the last video, we got all the internal components of our engine back together. The aim for this video is going to be to have all the components that sit along the outside of the engine back onto the block. Hopefully we can get everything back on the engine, and if we get time, we'll try to install it back into the car as well. As you saw in the video earlier on, we did install the sump along with the crank seal. We had a bit of an issue where we had no space to install the crank seal because there was no space between the engine stand and obviously the engine block. So we had to take it off the stand and then install the crank seal and then put it back onto the engine stand. Now that we've got that adjusted, it's no longer in the way.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we've done the sump and the crank seal as well, so we're pretty much ready to start installing the rocker cover. The only reason why we didn't start on it first before we done the sump is there's like these little shims that sit under the camshafts, and I didn't want them to actually come out of place. So we've checked it, everything's all in line now, so that's why you got the rocker cover in place. So what we're going to be doing is installing the rocker cover with the new seals. Once that's done, we start working on the side of the engine, getting the exhaust manifold in. Once that's in, we can work on the other side. The exhaust manifold side, there's not many things actually go on. On the intake side, there's loads of stuff to go on, as you can see right there. So we'll make a start on it. So here's the next day, guys. Now check it out. A lot of the stuff's been installed, so there's nothing left on this side of the floor. We fitted up the exhaust manifold, the heat shield, AC pump, and the mount as well. So that's pretty much the easy side. The more technical side is the intake side. So the throttle bodies have been all installed. We still need to get the oil icing on, which sits right there. So before we do that, there's a pipe that runs along here. We need to install that. Knock sensors have all been done. So the loom literally sits around here. So once that loom is in place, then we can start, connecting everything back up. Another thing I want to mention is I did want to actually change the water pump. The parts place that we use is A to Z. They don't actually have one in stock, so they have ordered one. It will come in a couple of days time. I mean, if you do have time before we actually put the engine in and we got the part on time, we'll fit that back up. If not, we'll have to do it at a later date. So here's the next day, guys. The engine is coming along now. There's not much left to actually complete it. There's a few things left. We got this fuel pipe right here which sits onto the block and runs along to the top of the throttle body and bolts, well, clips onto the pressure rail. So that needs to be done. We should have really done that before we put all that stuff in. So we'll try wiggling that through and bolting it all down. Once that's done, we can start moving on to installing the wiring. You can see we've got the wiring loom for the ignition coils right there. So we have received our service kit which comes with the spark plugs, just sitting right here. We'll just get the spark plugs in and just get our ignition coils in and start, building up the loom around the top of the engine.
So we finally managed to get the engine back together. As you guys can see, she's looking really good right now, guys. Obviously we painted a good amount of parts, and she's just giving the plastic panels a nice little clean up. So guys, the plan for next week's video is going to be to actually get the gearbox and all those remaining parts fitted back up onto the engine, and then hopefully get the engine back into the car and get everything hooked up, and then it's the moment of truth. Will it start? Will it drive? So yeah, you'll have to stay tuned for next week to find out if the engine is going to be running. And yeah, for this week guys, the aim was to actually get the engine back together, and that's exactly what we've done. We've got all our damaged parts just lying down on the floor right there. So yeah guys, make sure you stay tuned for next week's video to find out if the engine runs. So that's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Comment, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one.